There you go. Well, good morning, everyone. Such a pleasure to have you all back on this Friday morning or evening, wherever you are. And thriving under pressure, honestly, is something that we all think of at least once in a day, no matter pandemic or otherwise. And when we were thinking about this webinar, we deliberately chose to stay away from whatever is happening, things that you can Google. We wanted to share with you things that you can't Google. And those are the powerful stories of our guest speakers and my co-facilitators who are bringing in. We've always believed that everybody has an amazing story to tell, and you just need to find the right platform where you're comfortable to share that. I am so excited today that we have Serge and Lindsay as our amazing guest speakers. And I'm honestly grateful to them to go with the flow and really trust us on this platform to come up and speak their story out. And while it is intergenerational complementary, it's about each other's stories and how we can find strength and comfort, that we are never alone in this, never alone, irrespective of the situation. And I'm super excited about that. With that said, quite a lot of people I have the privilege of knowing on this call, quite a lot of people I don't know, and I'd love to get to know someday. So my name is Arjun Channa. I am the general manager of the Westin Calgary, downtown in Calgary in Alberta, in Canada. I thought it probably would be best if I just show this photograph. So I'm a father to these 4 amazing kids, one of them on 4 legs, and a proud husband to that lovely wife of mine, Katya, for 25 plus years, known her for 30 years. Great photograph, actually. You can see how I spent a lot of my time doing a hairstyle on this one, actually, because I want to make and no comments needed for that, please.
You entered 8916. This meeting ID does not exist. Please re-enter your meeting ID followed by...
Oh, hold on, I've just muted the person. Sorry about that. I don't know where that came in from. Oops. I just wanted to say it's been such a journey over 30 years now across 13 destinations. I've had the privilege of traveling the world, and I know that some of you on the call share that sentiment. And in my world, by traveling the world, my whole goal, the sole purpose, was always to make the world a smaller place by growing the network. The privilege I have had getting to know all of you individually and the cultures across the world have honestly been a summary of who I am today. And that's a pleasure. So thank you very much for all the people who have joined us today, thriving under pressure. And it's such a privilege. We're going to be doing this into 2 rounds. And in both rounds, we have 2 questions each for Lindsay and for Serge. I'm going to pass it on to Michael to introduce himself. Michael, all yours.
Great, Arjun. Nice to meet everybody here this morning. Thank you for joining us. Great to be here. A little bit about my background. I moved out from Ontario in 1980 before the first Trudeau made a mess of this country. I came out here for a Calgary Stampede and never made it back east. That's my story. I'm going to stick to that. I've been a serial entrepreneur since about 1996. Currently, I have a company co-founded, a health and wellness company and a consumer package company called Innisol Health. Sol strips, if you're familiar with Listerine breath papers, we medicate those papers, and you let it melt on your tongue, and the active gets in your bloodstream within 2 to 5 minutes. So those who have trouble swallowing, strips are a nice way to get rid of pill fatigue. I've been an angel investor for since about 2003, helping coach, mentor other entrepreneurs, invest in opportunities. Also sat on the National Angel Capital Board for a term. I've got 2 beautiful daughters that I love spending time with. They keep me on my toes, keep me honest, tell me I'm always wrong. It's fantastic, 17 and 20, and they're both starting, they're one's at UBC Okanagan already, and our youngest is going to be starting there in September, but it will start off as being digital, hopefully moving to full-time classes in January. I also believe I read a lot, love to learn. It doesn't matter how old you are, you always learn. I just feel that leaders are readers. And I am very active, love all sports and watching and participating, love golf, cycling, hiking, and working out and getting out to the mountains.
Thank you, Michael. Brad, go ahead, please.
Thanks, Arjun. And again, I wanted to really thank you for doing this. So my name's Brad Gollin. I'm Chief Evolution Officer for SIVA Solutions, organizational change consulting firm I have, which kind of combines conscious capitalism philosophy with an agile organizational change methodology. So I work with small, medium-sized enterprises primarily, and really help them to evolve their businesses primarily through executive team coaching, because it's the effectiveness of the team that really determines the success of the organization and its growth potential. So my background, I grew up in Edmonton, moved to Calgary after university, and worked in the energy sector for most of my career. I tried to get away from it by doing an MBA and still couldn't get away from it. But again, like Michael, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Started my first venture in '94, and right now I'm involved with 3 startup companies, 2 as co-founder and 1 as on the board, but always looking to help and support young entrepreneurs, because to me that really is the future, and that's what's going to create the better world that we all aspire to. Father of 4, that seems to be a pattern here, doesn't it? My children range from 19 to 39. I find that hard to believe because, you know, I look in the mirror and I can't believe I'm that old. Anyway, I'm excited about today, and just wanted to thank you again, Arjun, for facilitating this and creating this wonderful experience for all of us.
And just for disclaimer purposes, since we are recording this, Mike, and Brad, your drinks were not spiked by me into getting into doing these webinars with me. Just for the record, could you please say yes or no?
No.
Yes, they were spiked.
All right, I'll have to delete that from the recording, but I'll take care of that later since I'm the host of this one. Ladies and gentlemen, my great moment to introduce Lindsay Matheson.
Hi, everyone, and thanks so much for having me join Arjun, Brad, and Michael. Yeah, so my name is Lindsay Matheson. I was actually born in the Northwest Territories and spent half my childhood in the Arctic Circle and the other half in Edmonton. And I still am based here in Edmonton, Alberta. I'm married and have an incredible husband who I think is watching this, so shout out to Isaac. And yeah, I guess a little bit about my professional background. I came out of school doing a degree in supply chain management and commerce, and transitioned quickly to work in international relations, international trade, and now I'm in the tourism industry. Yeah, and I guess on a personal side, you know, I'm a big reader. I love reading a lot of nonfiction. I love, you know, going out for walks, being in nature. I'm starting to tap into my creative side with painting and trying new hobbies. And a big passion of mine is also helping other people, helping, you know, the generation below me as well, kind of navigate a lot of the challenges that I've went through in the last handful of years. And just, you know, learning as much as I can. So that's a little bit about me.
You know, Lindsay, thank you so much. I need to let all the listeners know that I've got to learn the art of introducing myself from Lindsay, because the first time when we connected, which was, I can't even believe it, less than 3 weeks ago. And I'm so grateful to a very dear friend of mine, Christy, who's in between, who introduced Lindsay to me. So thank you. A big shout out to you, Christy, for introducing Lindsay to me. And when Lindsay introduced herself the first time, it was in less than 10 seconds, she introduced herself and it was all clear. So I love it, that, Lindsay. So thank you very much. We all learn from each other at the end of the day.
That's right.
Monsieur Serge, let's hear your lovely voice. Thanks, Lindsay. Once you mute yourself, because we will not be able to lip read. Serge, you have to mute yourself. Perfect.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me, Arjun, Brad, Michael. Got to meet Lindsay the other day. A little bit about me. I was born in Longueuil, Quebec, a long time ago, and got a chance to move out west in 1970, which will be part of my story. I'm married. I married once, 43 years ago, and coming up to our 43rd year on June 23rd. I have two children, half of what the others have, a boy and a girl. Danielle is our oldest and Remy is our youngest, not by much. And I'm a grandfather. That keeps me quite busy. I mean, listening to all these brilliant people and everything they've learned, everything they've done. I'm not much of a reader. I'm more of a wine guy. And I'm a pickleball player, which takes 3 to 4 hours a day when it's allowed. And right now it's coming back. So I'm very happy to be able to get back on the court and get back there physically. I also enjoy photography quite a bit. My career was mainly in Winnipeg, which started in 1970. Got to move back to Quebec with the company called Ricky's. And unfortunately, fashion in Montreal and fashion in Winnipeg isn't the same. So I got my way back into Western Canada in Saskatoon for 10 years prior to changing company. I've worked for 2 companies my life. And I've been in Calgary now since 2001. No, 2010, no, 2001, sorry. And retired, enjoying it, the freedom that I've gained and the pressure that has left me until today. The pressure to be in front of all of you people is really taxing on me this morning, but I know I'm going to survive it with your help. So this is me.
And Serge, if you can tell us very briefly about your new experience that you've got into.
At the age of 70, I got the pleasure of going into a wine store that someone said were applying. They were looking for people. And at first I kind of refused to do it because I didn't think that I needed to do that. Until I met Jérôme, the owner, one of the owner from Sherbrooke, Quebec, and we started speaking French to each other. And I thought, well, that's a good fit for me. But at the time he said, you know, we've got all the people we need, so but I'll take your information, and if we need anyone, I will let you know. That evening, I had an email telling me that I was hired. And I've been there now for a little over a year, and I cannot tell you how much I'm enjoying telling people that they should drink better wine and educating them on what wines are filled with sugar and what wines are filled with the actual fruit.
But all wines are filled with love.
All wines, oh yeah, you know.
If the webinar was to come to an end here, I think that would be already the amazing icing on the cake, I would say. And Serge, I commend you again and again for that, and looking forward to hearing the questions and your story as we go forward. So thank you very much for everyone's introduction. I wanted to kick it off by reading a Rumi quote here. And I'm 100% sure most of you have heard it, but I just want to say it one more time. This being human is a guest house. Every morning is a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Treat each guest honorably. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And I reflect on this. I've heard this many times before in my life and my career. And when I read this, I hear this, and I think about the network. And I've always said that your network is your network. It's the people you know. I've said this before many times, that SCAL group, and so many of my colleagues are on this call, that we're part of a tribe. We make that tribe, whether it's 2 people, 25 people. It's all those people are teaching you lessons one way or the other. And I am so grateful more than ever that we are able to bring this to all of you. So thank you again for everyone for being here. I would like to just clarify the 2 rounds. The first round The question was, that is just the general question. What if you were more aware that every thought, feeling, and action of yours has a definite and timeless ripple effect? And this got to me, this question. And I think about it, that I think about the ripple effect that we create. I think the very fact that we exist, we have created a ripple effect automatically already. The very fact that we take action on something, that creates a ripple effect. Even inaction creates a ripple effect. And I really give it a good thought as to each one of us is connected. Once those waves and those ripple effects start, they only end when they reach towards the end of that lake or whatever it is. So it got me thinking of how we are all connected. I may know Serge for a year or 2 years or 3 years. I may know some of you for 20 plus years as I think about the names. And some of you I might know for 20 days. How does it matter? If you can make that connection, that seems that it's going to be a lifetime. And that is what is another thing that has brought us all together today. So I'm super, super excited about that. With that in mind, we will begin the round one. And I am going to pass it on to Michael to ask that first question to Serge, please. Go ahead, Michael.
Thanks, Arjun. Yeah, I think you're talking about how we're all connected and how small the world has become. You know, I think someone with social media and all the internet, I think we're not 6 degrees of separation, we're more like 1 degree of separation now too. So it's pretty unique. Before I get to the main question, Serge, it's so great to have you here and exposing yourself to us and making yourself vulnerable. And I think it's just incredible. We really appreciate that. But growing up in Quebec, and we're thinking of us Canadians as all being hockey fans and of course the old Montreal Canadiens. Did you ever dream about having your name called out for scoring a goal at the old Montreal Forum with that dynamic speaker?
No, but I can tell you that I played hockey with Butch Bouchard in his backyard and his son and a couple of friends. And Butch Bouchard and I were on a team. I was the goalie, and I blanked them, the other 3 guys. So I didn't win the Stanley Cup, but I played hockey with a legend.
That's awesome. That's great. No, I've been blessed too back during my KLM days. Our head office for KLM in Canada was Montreal, so we had a chance to see a few games there too. It was just a real treat. So, Serge, you've had just an amazing journey. You know, you're only at half your life right now, but you've had a lot of experience. Interesting journey, inspiring journey. You came out to Western Canada, I believe Manitoba, to start off with, not being able to speak English at the time, with $20 in your pocket. How brave was that? And ready to take on the world. What made you take that first step? At any point, did you come to regret any decision? And what would you tell your younger self today if you could?
Well, if I missed on that opportunity to move to Manitoba, I don't know where I would be today. It was probably the best thing I've ever done. The chance of 2 friends coming and ring my bell ring the bell at the house and say, Serge, we're going out west. You got an hour to get ready. And I promised my parents I would be home by the time they come back from a holiday. I had a choice and a decision to make. And the decision was, I'm going, but I don't have any money. I have $20. Mark had 10, and the guy with the car had 110. And I didn't believe that this was happening. I didn't believe that we would make it to Manitoba. And by the time we reached Ottawa, I was thinking, well, you know what, maybe this is really happening. But I was still hesitant because there were 2 jokers. And then we hit Toronto, and then we crossed into Detroit. I knew we were on our way. But to believe that we would go through Chicago, Toledo, St. Louis, and at St. Louis, we said, we better come back up to Canada because we're running out of money here. And we had a trunk full of food, Spam and tuna, all in tins. We had, you know, it was tins, and we slept in the car. And I was the one that was sleeping on, you know, where the transmission goes through the car, where there's the hump in the back. That was my bed. So we from St. Louis, St. Louis, there was a strike. I'd never seen a strike. It was at one of the brewery. And we wanted to be photographed with all the women that were there. And one of the women decided to show us what St. Louis looked like, which was great. The trip through the US was phenomenal. Then we hit Minneapolis and surfaced in Winnipeg with enough money for a meal, enough money to fill the tank, and enough money to buy a case of beer. I had a connection from Longueuil, from my hometown, where we had a room and board individual that lived with us for a period of time. And he worked for a company called Reitman's as a window dresser. His name was Louis. And I connected with him. His parents took us in, and Louis took us to Grand Beach, Manitoba, which, if you've never been there, is one of the best kept secret in Canada. And Louis introduced us to some people. On the Sunday morning, he said, I need someone to come and help me work to do some sales screening for sales signs for the company he was working for, called Ricky's. So hungover like hell, I said, I will. Never thought I would survive it. Went in and enjoyed the moment. And enjoyed the moment so much that I went back the second day and the third day. On the third day, he said to me, Serge, I need to go to one of the store. And if you don't mind, I'd rather you stay here. I don't know why he was afraid of introducing me to anybody else. So I stayed there, but the department was, it was a mess. Nothing was where it was supposed to be. So I decided to start planning on how could I make this place more workable. And by the time he came back 3 hours later, I had the department completely organized. He looked at me and like, wow, what happened here? He went to the owner of the company and he said, I think I found my guy. And I was hired. And it was the start of my career as a visual display manager, as a visual display individual, who then eventually took me to be the visual manager of the company as Louis left the company. And then we went into recession, which the company wanted to keep me and this other individual because we had done good work for them. And I was given a quantity of stores, and so he was. My visuals was my strength, and his training was his strength. We were given stores that were not performing, and within 3 months, we had the best performing store in the company. And they were all in small pockets like Moose Jaw, Estevan, Swift Current, and Prince Albert. So that was my responsibility to make these stores shine. So then the company decided to expand out east. Montreal was the city, and they approached me and asked me if I would like to go. And to have an opportunity to go back with my wife, 2 children, money in my pocket, and enough to buy a house, versus when I left, I had nothing, was quite a feeling to go back home and spend more time with my brother, sister, my parents. And at the same time, I was asked to open Eastern Canada. So Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. So I opened Eastern Canada. And like I said earlier, fashion in Montreal and fashion in Winnipeg is not the same. The merchandise that was sent to Montreal from Winnipeg was already outdistanced by Montreal, which was moving fashion so quick that we eventually had to shut the stores down in Montreal. And the company offered me to come back out west, which moving out west was something that was such a blessing. I loved Western Canada. I had so many allergies in Montreal. I would spend my summer in the basement because of my allergies. And coming to Winnipeg, it was just like disappeared. I could actually enjoy summer. And learning English, which I did not mention, was very challenging. When I first got there, I practically was not talking. I was just absorbing and made a lot of mistakes. I was talking to my wife about that yesterday. We were talking at one point about King Arthur and the courts and the round table. And I mentioned to them, because I didn't know what the word in English was, Ivanhoe. Well, just like you are looking at me right now wondering, except maybe Chris Vachon, that what's Ivanhoe? And everybody was like, well, what's Ivanhoe? And I'm trying to give them a description. And then Jan, who was there at the time, said, oh, you mean Ivanhoe? Ivanhoe, Ivanhoe, yes, that's who it is. And but little mistakes like this, people laughed, and they laughed with me, I laughed with them, and it made it easy for me to stay there. Because I tell you, there were moments that were very difficult. But moving to Saskatchewan was again the same challenge, trying to bring some stores that were struggling back into shape. And my other fellow that was moving to Toronto and to do the same thing as I did, switched company at one point, and he went working for the shoe company, Town Shoes at the time, private family company. And he offered me to move to that company with him. Offered me Ottawa 1 year, and I said, no, I just came back from there, and I'm not interested in this French and English thing anymore. I've learned English, and I want to stick with that. And I refused that. The following year, he offered me Vancouver. I said, no, I can't afford Vancouver. Too much traffic, very expensive. And eventually, he offered me Calgary, and I said, Calgary, what a fit. My wife has a brother here. I love the mountains. I would love to ski. I would love to hike. I'm tired of the prairies. You're always facing the wind one way. So I took the challenge, and I worked for the shoe company for 15 years until I retired. So that's my story. I stick with it. I would do it again tomorrow, even if I would have only a nickel in my pocket. Thanks for asking, Michael.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Serge. No, it's been, you know, what I like about the fact that everything you do in life, and it's a very calm you, meaning you're very meticulous, you're very attention to details, but it's not in your face. You have things, you roll with it. I think that's something we can all take home and appreciate that and put that into our own personal arteries. It's just, you know, fantastic. So thank you for sharing that story with us and your life experiences. And I'll turn this back over to Arjun.
Michael, thank you very much. Serge, thank you. And most people who have known me in this life, they know me, I'm very shy. You know, I'm not a wild card at all, even though people keep saying that to me. But Serge, I did go behind your back and I asked a couple of people, what would be that one thing that you could tell me about Serge? What could be that one thing that you admire about him? And this is what they said, a couple of them. So first of all, passion. And I think we all felt it right now. So it's all about go all in and be present all the time. Inclusiveness. Like you're the most important person in the room. You will always treat everybody the most important person in the room. And then this person wrote over here to me saying, don't think there is just one attribute that I admire about Serge, because Serge is like a fine glass of wine. Complexity, nuanced, and simplicity all wrapped in a bouquet of joie de vivre, the living proof that takes combination of special qualities to make that happen. So there you go, Serge. I just wanted to add that to your story. With no further delay, I'm going to pass this on to Brad to push it on a question to Lindsay. Here we go.
Super. Thanks, Arjun. And thanks, Serge, for sharing that. It's interesting because to me, when I listen, you were just kind of open to what life brought you and adapted and evolved and grew as a person and kind of lived that adventure. And back to Arjun's original kind of statement on the question about ripple effects and our actions and our choices and how they ripple out and affect others. And it kind of leads me into a bigger generational thought or perspective. And, you know, I think you're in my generation, we've created the world we're looking at today. You know, that's kind of what our legacy is in a way. But when we kind of think about it, our role, I think our responsibility is to ensure that the next generations have better opportunities than we had.
Yes.
And I guess in some respects, I feel personally, I feel somewhat guilty because every media, all of the information that's being published right now is saying that Lindsay's generation is going to have a much tougher time of it. A lot of millennials have come out, and I read an article a couple of weeks ago from Inc., and it talked about millennials. Many of them have never seen good times. They can't, they went to school and things were getting expensive. They came out and, the '08 recession, and then we kind of slowly pick up, and then we hit, the 2014, 2015 drop. So, when we look at kind of that ripple effect, and I look at Lindsay, to me, it's interesting because kind of like you, Lindsay's experience is coping and not knowing what's going to come at her, but having to kind of manage. And to me, that's kind of a very much an entrepreneurial trait, that having to adapt and pivot and incorporate. So I see some similarities, but I think in some respects, Lindsay's going to be facing a rate of change and challenges that we never dreamed of. So I guess what I want to do is kind of, Lindsay, kind of segue into that. And for you in kind of your career and your journey, could you share with us kind of how you've coped, how this has impacted you emotionally, and the things that you're doing to manage with the ripples, the tidal wave that my generation has passed on to you?
Yeah, great question. And so much of what you say resonates with me, and like I have a lot of different thoughts kind of coming in my head. And I just think back to a conversation that Arjun and Serge and I were having just the other day about why I agreed to do this. And at first, my initial response was to say no, no, I don't want to. This is way out of my comfort zone. I don't want to do this. I don't know who these people are. I don't even know you. And then I thought about, okay, well, what is thriving under pressure? And I thought in this very moment, thriving is to go with it and to just accept the challenge and figure it out. And then I know Arjun, you sent the questions a couple days ago about some of the topics and themes that we were going to be discussing and sharing on. And I had such a hectic week that I, to be honest, didn't really totally read the questions, but just said, yeah, sounds good, it looks good. And then last night I actually sat down and was thinking these through and thinking about, okay, what could I actually say? And I, thought, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to say. I should have read these questions. And so then, I kept on thinking and related to, our conversation about having to have that change from being entrepreneurial minded, versus employee minded. And, the emotions that we all face as in my generation, as I think most of us are kind of trained to have an entrepreneurial mindset now because we've had to pivot and make changes in our careers coming out of university, maybe some people getting laid off, all of these different things. It's almost like it's an instilled, I guess, mindset for a lot of people now. And so, yeah, I was thinking about, my career so far, and obviously, yeah, I am newer in my career, and definitely, I think most of you could be my dad, but but it's great. And I was thinking about, how moments in my career that made me shift from having, that emotionally charged mindset to maybe moving towards more entrepreneurial. And I was thinking of a pivotal moment early on within my first year of working at the government and working in international trade and relations. And I had a coworker who was kind of a bully and was not nice to work with. And I really dreaded working with him, and we had to work together on these projects. And I would always go to my boss and say, I just can't do this. I don't know. I don't know how to work with him. And so what I ended up doing was finding a gap that our team wasn't working in, and identifying the life sciences industry as a space that there was no expertise in. No one was working in it. No one was serving, clients in that area, and no one had any background in it. And so I just put up my hand and I said, look, there's a gap here. I want to run with this. I want to go with it. And luckily I had a very supportive boss who said, yeah, go for it. And so I started to use that kind of emotionally charged mindset of, saying, I don't even want to come to work. I don't want to be here. I don't want to work with you, to then thinking, okay, where are these gaps and where can I, run with something? And so I, just started reaching out to people in the industry. I started networking. I started building my, my network. And Arjun, I think you mentioned, was it you or Michael who said your network is your net worth? And I had no background, no scientific background in the industry, no anything. And I just started, doing what I thought I could do to meet new people and expose myself to new experiences that would in turn grow me. And so I think, part of that also comes to like thriving under pressure, and the entrepreneurial mindset comes only when pressure is applied. And it's almost like when the pressure is applied, the creative, like I think of the lemon, right? If the lemon being pushed down, the creative juices start coming from it. So I think just as I look back on the last few years, the only way that I've thrived when pressure is pushed on me is using my creativity. And that the only time that I get creative is when, it's crunch time and I have to make adjustments and I have to pivot in some way to a new direction or, a new experience. So that's kind of what I would say and how I would respond to, that question.
So from your perspective, when you look around, do you feel a sense of blame in terms of my generation and what we've kind of, the challenges we've left you to take on? Or, have you thought of it that way? Because to me, your entrepreneurial bent is something I think that resonates for all of us. See a need, fill a need, and you step in and fill that need. But I really resonate with that aspect of what's made Alberta entrepreneurial is these down cycles. When everyone's laid off and there's nothing to do, you know what? We became entrepreneurial and we started coping to survive. And I think that's your journey. How do you feel in response to kind of that, what we've handed you?
Are you looking for, a free pass here or no?
Actually, I would love some brutal honesty because, to me, I think if we're going to help each other, we really need to be honest and true to each other. So I would love just brutal honesty.
Yeah, no. And I was joking. And to be honest, I don't blame future generations that have gone before me. Mm-hmm. And I think that, if I had, I wouldn't, or if I do blame them, I wouldn't be in a place to have the mindset for actually looking for new opportunities. And, being optimistic towards what could actually, be in the future. So absolutely, I don't think that I do blame your generation or generations that have gone before. I just think that almost because of, previous generations, they've allowed me to get into the position that I am, in this time of the world and in this time of my life, that have allowed me to be creative and to adjust. And I think that is a really cool space to be in my generation, is that we, I think, are learning at a lot quicker rate than previous generations, and are having to experience a lot more in a condensed period of time. So I think it's going to be really interesting in 20, 30 years from now, where we are, and does that rate of learning and adaptation, does that continue to increase as generations, continue? Or are we kind of at a turning point where change is happening in our generation, and we're preparing the world for the future generations to come? So, yeah.
Well, thank you, because I wanted to hear that firsthand, because one of the things I really admire about you is your focus is really just purely looking forward. You're not looking backwards. You're only looking forward. You're looking forward to the challenge, the opportunity, to just focus on the solution and not the problem. And that's one of the things I really, really admired in terms of when we talked and we met initially. And, there's a couple of things I wanted to put this in perspective. One, you look at Serge, 2 jobs in his career, 2 companies. you know, the average tenure for millennials now is 24 months.
Totally.
That's statistically the numbers we're looking at. And the other thing that I think is we don't really appreciate and comprehend is, you know, when Serge and I started, knowledge was doubling every 50 years. IBM forecasts that knowledge will be doubling every 12 hours by 2022.
Wow.
That's the world that your skill set and your entrepreneurial mindset and your adaptability is having to cope with. And, you know, my response is thank God for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Brad.
Arjun?
Well, that was a curveball you threw at Lindsay, and what an amazing comeback over there, and that was fantastic. I mean, at the end of the day, it's so amazing to hear that at the end of the day, it's not about a blame game. It's all about embracing it. And I love the part, Brad, where you say, you know, it's all about looking ahead, not back. And if you look back, it's for inspiration. You leverage your network, everything, etc. But think about all the endless possibilities. So in line with what I did with Serge, I did go behind your back, Lindsay, as well, to ask a couple of people who know you. And this is what they had to say about you. Lindsay is genuine, full stop. Actually, it was a comma after that. But enthusiastic and willing to go out of her way and out of her comfort zone if necessary to connect and explore new opportunities for collaboration. Lindsay will help bridge the government industry gap in Canada's conference industry. And I want you to take the key words over here as all the listeners are listening in, and they just heard Serge and they just heard Lindsay with added comments from Michael and Brad. The word here pops out is the genuine piece, the enthusiastic piece, the going out of her way. And I know that all of you in this call can relate with these words because you've all done it at some point or the other. We talk about the comfort zone. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the comfort zone. Comfort zone is no different than having family, a solid foundation, good friend, strong tribe, whatever that may be, that can help you branch off to new opportunities and build your collaboration. And I love the word bridge, because at the end of the day, what else are we doing when we connect with people in any manner form? We're always trying to bridge gaps. So I love what you said, Lindsay, about identifying gaps and trying to bridge them. It's phenomenal. So thank you very much. Mindful of time, I'm going to pass this on to Michael for the second question to Serge, round two.
Great, Arjun. Thank you. Excellent feedback. As Brad would say too, we point to entrepreneurial mindset. You know, and it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or you're in an organization, just having that solution-oriented mind. Same thing with Serge, really. You both are exemplify that. Taking on a challenge where you don't have to, and you don't have to agree with me, but putting ourselves in uncomfortable action is really where we grow and learn and move forward. So I think that's brilliant on both of Lindsay and Serge. So Serge, you are currently doing what you love most. Where your passion lies, selling wines. Wine's kind of a ripple effect for us all. We get to share great wine with great friends and great people. So it has I think a major ripple effect. Take us through the thought process that made you go to the wine store, introduce yourself to the owner, an action that led you to receiving an email later that night and get the job. What are the 3 pivoting and daring steps you will advise anyone today to take or keep in their arsenal that will help them gather the courage to keep living their life to their fullest, one day at a time?
Well, you know, someone that knew my wife, that knew Jan, I told her that there was a great job available for Serge. And I was just finishing pickleball game, and she told me about it, and I thought, I don't need a job. I don't need to do this. You know, I pickleball, come home, have a glass of wine. Why go back into the workforce? And I was on my way back, and I thought, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna stop in and see. Well, I was quite impressed with the wine boutique, first of all. And I don't want to say I was most impressed that the owner or part owner was French, but that certainly did help because I don't get a chance to speak French that often. And this was a pleasant conversation with him. the other thing was, who wants to hire a 70-year-old? I mean, at 65, you stop what you're doing, you try to figure out what you want to do. Then I went back to work for a little more because I didn't realize what was ahead. I was afraid of what was ahead. The comfort zone was work. Then I found pickleball. Now that really made things change. And then the wine store. My conversation with him was, I attacked him with my knowledge of Merlot and Chardonnay versus Chablis and Cabernet Sauvignon versus Bordeaux. I wanted him to know in 10 seconds everything I knew about wine. So I think he was impressed. And when I left, knowing that, oh, you know what, I didn't get the job, but it was fun, he's a nice guy. And checked my email that evening and, oh my God, I'm making $16 an hour. I'm hired and I start on Friday. It blew my mind. So it was very exciting to be on the floor the first day and to feel so comfortable, probably more comfortable there than a lot of other places that I've been in my life. It was just like walking into, it was my dream job and dream world. I mean, perform, buddy, you know what you're doing, So, and I'm still there. I'm working this afternoon. So any one of you that wants to come and experience good knowledge, come and see me. I'll be happy to talk you into a $30 or a $40 bottle of wine instead of a $10 of sugar. Why did I take it? It's a good question. Was it to complete the other hours during the day that I didn't know what to do with? But I think it was more to learn. I mean, what Brad has been talking about, what Lindsay and what you're talking about at IBM and what the millennium will have to learn. I mean, I don't have to stop learning because I'm this age. I can keep on learning and I can keep on teaching. So that definitely was a big part of the reason why I felt so humble and to be, and a compliment. We had a Christmas party just before COVID-19, which I wasn't supposed to bring up. I'm meeting all the other people. They have 2 stores, and we're meeting all the other associates from the other stores. And Jerome himself asked one of the employees, says, "Hey, Jack," says, "how old do you think this guy is?" And he looked surprised. I don't know, 55, 60? No, he's 70 years old. And he's one of our best workers. It felt really good to hear it. I'm talking to you. I've listened to Lindsay, Brad, Michael, Arjun. Your English flows like a song. It's so beautiful. And I'm still nervous and struggling to make it through this. But you won't stop me from talking. I'm so happy to have been part of this morning and to see people that I recognize, Mark Nichols and Corinne, my friend Roxanne and her husband Greg, and Jim Pappas. I know there's another page of other people. And nobody hung up. That's pretty awesome. So I'd say never give up. Never give up. I mean, you don't have to just go on park and stop there. I've introduced people to pickleball. What a great sport for people of all age, but I tell you what a great sport for people our age. It's given me a new life. Working is giving me an extension to a good life because I get a discount and I can bring some good wine home and I can share that with you people. So I don't know if that answers the question, Michael.
Serge, it sure does. It's just truly inspiring. And I think we all, in that mindset, unstoppable mindset, always growing, always changing, always reinventing ourselves. And if we're not doing something that we just don't have a fire burning in our belly, how many people can say they love their job and they got a fire, they got passion, the things. So I think in life that is a really important message, that we do have that fire burning and it drives us, because it makes it that much more special. So I'll finish with, in life we all have to celebrate. There's always, whether you have a win at work or you do a pivot over to a new job like Lindsay did and took an opportunity, a chance, something you shouldn't know that much about, but was willing to put herself out there. And we get that new contract, or we get this, or we win a pickleball match, or we have a tie. What wine would you recommend? What would be your go-to wine for a victory or a celebration of life?
Well, it would be from Chile. It's called Intriga.
Okay.
It's a Cabernet Sauvignon, take note. It's priced right, but it's not as rich and heavy as your US Cab. But Chile makes some phenomenal wine. But my wife would not drink the red, she would prefer the white. So I would get her Novellum from France. It's a Chardonnay. And it's beautiful. Again, it's not like the US heavy oaky, as for just a little bit of oak, fresh, that touch of citrus, and easy to drink. Those might be they're my go-to. But before I end this, I have to tell all of you that I have never been this nervous in many years to be there in front of you today, and I made it.
Serge, amazing. You, to me, seem extremely calm. And I think sometimes we all have nerves. That means we have energy and passion. So it's we never lose that. It means you care. That's great. Arjun, I'm going to go and crack a bottle of wine in the kitchen while you take over the next round of this.
Absolutely. You know what, Serge, the only thing that can get you into trouble is not doing a webinar on the first time, is speaking any less, describing your beautiful wife, less than the way you described that beautiful bottle of wine. Make sure that you raise the stakes over there on how you introduce your lovely wife as well. But that was absolutely powerful.
She's right there.
I know. 10 out of 10. This is awesome, Serge. Thank you.
She just finished exercising. I'm sure she doesn't want to show up right now.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, just to add here the second piece to Serge, and we're going to go on quickly to Lindsay. When I did ask again about Serge, and this is what was written, being with Serge is like raising a glass of wine for a toast that gets people involved and connected. And I want you to think about network at the same time. Serge also has a way of raising those around him. They feel involved, connected because of his spirit. And you know what, Serge? Nothing gives me more pride than to share this right now with everyone and yourself. So thank you very much for coming along, and phenomenal to hear you.
Thanks for having me.
Brad, I'm going to pass it on to you for the final question to Lindsay, please.
Thanks, Arjun. And thanks, Serge. Something you said really kind of triggered for me, that no matter what age, you're still learning and you're still growing. And I think that's universal, but that's also, I think, what kind of eliminates the age factor, and also kind of where we have a point of commonality. You know, and in terms of learning, adversity and failure is kind of, I think, for me at least, I've learned more from my failures than I did from any of my successes. And so I kind of want to come back to Lindsay in terms of, in the environment you're coming at, organizations, yourself professionally, personally, you have to be much more agile and much more adaptive, because change is happening at so much quicker rate for you. So, you know, kind of two questions here. So one is, what are some of the things that you do or you've learned that help you be agile and adaptive that way, that you could share with us? And then the second part that I want to ask after that is, do you see value? Do you see things that my generation, like, I want to be there as a support for you, but you're the one with the new ideas and you're the one that gives me hope. So what can I do to help you? Because I don't want to tell you what to do. I want to support you and have you tell me what we need to do. So 2 parts of the questions, 3 advice, and what can I do to help?
Yeah, great question. So I'll start with the last question. So kind of what you can do to help, and what your generation, how can we almost work together to build an even better and brighter future? And I think, you know, one thing that comes to mind is the concept, like we've talked a lot about pivoting and failure and almost how to pivot before you fail. And I think that for a lot of people, and my generation too, you can't really pivot before you fail unless you failed enough times, or unless you have people to go to who are, you know, who've gone through enough experiences to, you know, raise the flag and say, oh, hey, you know, I see this coming down the road. Just be cautious of this, or maybe we can talk about how can we look at pivoting together, or how can I help you pivot? So I think from a mentorship and a guidance point of view and perspective, there could be a lot of opportunity in that. Because I also know my generation is moves very quickly and sometimes doesn't always think through things. Maybe I'm just speaking from personal experience, but thinks through things before actually, you know, delivering them. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to put our heads together and look at things and look at, you know, flags that could be coming up rather than just driving full force ahead. And then I guess what do I put in practice, or how do I stay agile? What would I recommend to people? First and foremost, I would say, and kind of an overarching theme on this, is to be authentic in yourself and who you are, what you're about, what your beliefs are. And then incorporate that authenticity into your growth habits. I don't think a lot of people actually are intentional with growing themselves and what habits, you know, they do for input as well as output. And so for me, three things that I do on a daily or weekly or monthly basis is a reading habit. Read from, you know, sources, or read books from, you know, in areas that I know nothing about. Second one is a listening habit. Listen to people, or listen to podcasts, or to TED Talks, whatever, in areas that I know nothing about, as an opportunity to grow myself. And then the last one is a talking or a conversing habit. I make a habit and make a point of actually, you know, meeting new people and talking to strangers, because I know that I can learn something from them, whether it's, you know, in my generation, younger or older, whatever. And I just, when I was, you know, collecting these thoughts, I thought of my mom always used to say to me, talk to strangers. She never said don't talk to strangers. She said talk to strangers because you can always learn something new, but just don't trust them immediately. And I think that there's a gap, right, between a lot of us are scared, or you know nervous about talking to new people, but I think that there's a big missed opportunity if we don't take action and actually talk to strangers. So that's what I would say.
Thank you. Great wisdom from you that I appreciate. It's valuable to me. Arjun, I don't really have anything to add to her, so I'm handing it back to you.
Absolutely. I just want to respect everyone's time. We're at the 11 o'clock mark. We'll just take a couple of more minutes. So if anyone does need to bounce off, please feel free to. But I know that you will join me in celebrating both Lindsay and Serge. And here's the best part. I've never met Lindsay in my life, and I look forward to that someday. I know that Lindsay has never met Serge before, and we just connected them. And it just so happens that everything kind of falls into place. And it's all about believing at the end of the day. Now, you please put yourself in my shoes, as I'm so grateful to Michael and Brad that they believed in the thought process behind this. I'm listening to Lindsay's individual story. I'm listening to Serge, and I got to know him over a lovely glass of wine, or any kind of spirit for that matter. And I'm just able to connect the dots. If you think about your own career and every single thing that you've done, one way or the other, it's all about connecting the dots. And if you think about our world of today that is constantly dividing us one way or the other, all the more reason it's upon us, as Brad asks that question, does your Lindsay, does your generation have anything to blame on us, or what else would need to be done? I think at the end of the day, it makes me think, are we searching in the right place? Are we searching deep inside of us in the right place and taking the right steps every single point? So I am truly, truly grateful to Lindsay and Serge. And Lindsay, I also, again, I have one more thing that I took away from what I had asked about you. So if I may add that, basically, this is what they had to say about you, that she has worked with the government, but knows what they need to show for deliverables, what they value when participating and sponsoring large conferences. She understands the convention industry's massive role in the larger economic development and investment attraction picture, so she can communicate the value prop to both sides better than most. The key words that I take over here, Lindsay, that I hear about you, I hear your story, I hear how you answered that question. I think about knows, so how you are broadening your knowledge and platform of constantly unafraid to learn something new, figuring out what is the value in the proposition and understanding it more than anything else, and making sure that there is a win-win both sides by making sure that both sides are going to, one way or the other, come out winning in this one. I just want to say, as we are going to part our ways in the next few seconds, I want to say this other quote to all of you. Goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes. Goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes. Because for those who love with their heart and soul, there is no such thing as a separation. And with that in mind, and in respect of everybody's time, I hope you have found value in these webinars. We did decide to do only one initially. I know that Paul is on the call. Me, Brad, and Michael and Paul started this initial one, which I know some of you were on part of that. That led to a second one, and I know Douglas is on the call, who had an inspiring story last Friday, and now leading to this third one. And I am so grateful that all of you were part of this. If any one of you wish to have the copy of the recording, please shoot me a little email. You have that from the invite, or reach out to any of them. But I'm going to let Serge, any parting ways or parting words, anything you want to say?
Well, I would like to say that, and I just wrote it down, that I wish there were more Lindsays in the government.
Thanks, Serge.
Lindsay, parting words.
Yeah, just genuine gratitude for the opportunity. And yeah, it's been great talking with all of you. And Serge, I just appreciate, your attitude and your mindset of perseverance. And I think, that's such an incredible legacy to leave, in your children and your grandchildren. So you should definitely be proud of all that you've done and who you are.
Thank you, Lindsay. And Lindsay, thank you for trusting me. I'm glad you talk to strangers. So Michael, any parting words?
Not really. I think both Serge and Lindsay summed it all up, really. It's about them, about the audience. And I think it's had a lot of fun doing this. Arjun, if I can say one thing, speak for Brad, and I know Brad will have a few things to say, but you're a gem. You did an amazing, you're a natural at this. I think you continue with this. You're awesome.
Thanks, Arjun. Yeah, the thing I'd like to add is what I loved about what you've created here is really what we have here is a network, a community. And as peers, we are all here for each other. And there's wisdom. Everybody here has a story to tell, wisdom to share, and we can all learn from each other. And to me, part of what today reflected is, Lindsay and Serge may kind of go, why me? What do I have to say? But to me, it's so much easier and more powerful to relate to somebody who's no different than me, who I can look at and say, okay, I'm just like them. Or when I was younger, I was maybe just like them. And there's wisdom and there's learning and there's things to be gained from each other. We don't have to look up for that kind of inspiration. We just have to look to each other, and that's the opportunity you've given us. So thank you.
Thank you for trusting me, both Michael and Brad, and Lindsay and Serge. Thank you so much. Everyone, have a fantastic Friday. Thank you for being part of this. And remember, you're never alone.
I'm working at 2 o'clock. Come and see me.
Hold a bottle of that wine. My wife is going to want it.
Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.